That which we call substance and reality is shadow and illusion. And that which we call shadow and illusion is substance and reality. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. We begin 1920, and you have all been summoned to speak to Dean Bryce Fallon at the Miskatonic University. He's the head of faculty, and it's a bright late October morning. There's a light mist clinging to the city of Arkham. Most of you have been spending some time at the university. Obviously, Dr. Duckworth and Mr. Marnie have been here a long time. Dr. Montrose and Dr. Steinweg are on a kind of visit. Actually, Steinweg?
Steinweg, yeah, that's right.
You're on an exchange as well. Yeah.
Sabbatical. I'm having a sabbatical year in Arkham, Miskatonic.
So you find yourselves sat in the sort of long... It's like a long gallery kind of... It's a hallway, really, but it's got that sort of... It's wide, there's windows letting in a lot of the light. You're all sat in these rather nice upholstered benches along one wall where the secretary's asked you to wait. And in your midst, you've probably all seen each other around, or you all certainly have the air of academia, except for Mr. Marnie, who clearly is the security guard, and is in the Miskatonic University uniform, I guess.
Yep.
But there's also a figure who definitely doesn't belong here, who looks maybe a bit hard-boiled. I don't know, what does Kirk Sleep look like?
Yeah, he looks pretty tough, sort of grizzled. He's got like permanent 5 o'clock shadow. He's got a very like square face, square jaw, and like red-rimmed eyes. To give you an impression of him, he's been sort of self-medicating with caffeine and alcohol for so long that he really sort of can't tell night from day anymore. But he is every inch the classic PI.
So yeah, what about Dr. Jonas Steinweg? What do they see?
He is a short, skeletally thin man with a very sharp, pointed beard, circular rimmed glasses, a shock of whitening hair that is never... it's not Einstein worthy. It's not sort of wired like that, but it just goes straight up. And he can never quite tamp it down.
Professor Wheatos.
Like the Wheatos. He has some nervous habits, which once you get to know him a bit will become clearer what they might be. He did serve during the first few years of the First World War in Germany. However, he left Germany immediately after the war. He left Frankfurt immediately after the war. Distinguishing features: once handsome, aging. That's about it, really. Always wears a bow tie and is always fastidious about his appearance, but his elbows and knees give a suggestion of worn suits that are about 10 years out of date.
Nice. What about PJ Mahoney, or is it Mahoney or Marnie? I'm never sure.
It's Mahoney.
Mahoney.
Yeah. Patrick Joseph Mahoney is the security guard at Arkham University. He's been there for around 20 years or so, ever since he retired from the force. He was a beat cop in Arkham. He was injured in the line of duty, and he doesn't like to talk about it, and walks with a slight limp. He's married, has several children, several grandchildren, which he is very proud of, and tends to kind of ramble on about if given half a chance. He is around 5'9" in height, although he's slightly stooped. He's in his early 60s, and he's got slightly bow-legged as well, and he does, as I say, walks with a slight limp, but if anybody suggests that he uses his cane or his walking stick, he point blank refuses to do so. I can get him around on my own 2 feet. I don't need a stick going on.
Jeez.
Yeah. God damn it. So he's got a still thick but grey head of hair. He's rather proud of the fact that he hasn't lost his hair as he's got older. His hobbies involve sitting on his rocking chair on the stoop outside his house, reading the paper or having a smoke. And occasionally he likes to play chess as well. He's not particularly good at it, but he's getting better. I'm learning how the little horsey guy moves.
And what about Dr. Althea Montrose?
Dr. Althea Montrose is in her late 40s. She looks like quite a well-preserved woman. A fairly slight figure as she walks in with something of a limp. She's got a fine-looking cane. Those of you may... or some of you may have heard a few little snippets about Dr. Montrose and her presence at the Miskatonic. She is the senior librarian in charge of the historical reference section in the Mitchell Library in Glasgow. And she is on some sort of 6-month exchange with one of her colleagues at the Miskatonic University Library here. You may have heard one or two racy stories. She was involved in the women's suffrage movement in the early part of the century. And supposedly that's how she got her limp in some sort of scrape. And she's a proud member of the Women's Institute and sympathetic with the Red Clydesider movement, John McLean and others. This is in the aftermath of a great deal of unrest over the pond in Glasgow. And that's the reputation that she comes from. Perhaps we wouldn't like to use the phrase doesn't suffer fools gladly, but she has a certain something about her that is behind her smile that, maybe you don't want to find out about. But very well read and knowledgeable by all accounts. That's Dr. Montrose. Good morning, Jen.
And finally, and possibly most disturbingly, there is a man with a porcelain face.
Yeah.
With the porcelain face.
So, PJ will probably know who I am and have seen me around. I don't think anyone who's even glanced at me will probably remember it. He's got sort of... he's very tall, not particularly well built, but very tall and very straight, very, stiff up back and everything. He has a very basic, plain, neutral porcelain mask tied with a ribbon around the back of his head, covering his whole face, and sort of black hair, quite long, slicked back with a streak of grey in it. He wears a cravat, but if he sort of ever looks up, you notice that there's scarring underneath the mask as well. Sort of a maroon coat, a cane with a silver top handle. It's very sort of proper and well-to-do, but anyone who speaks to him knows that he's quite softly spoken and seems quite kind. Of course, not many people speak to him unless they have to, because he's not exactly an approachable figure, perhaps. But yeah.
It was a very unfortunate bear attack.
I think some sort of bear or wolf or cougar. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
And a possum scratched.
The Apocalypse Players present Crimson Letters. A Call of Cthulhu 7th edition scenario by Alan Bligh. Starring Joseph Chance as Dr. Jonas Steinweg, Danann McAleer as Professor Duckworth, Dan Wheeler as Kirk Sleep, P.I. With our special guests, Doug McAndrew as Dr. Althea Montrose and Mike Perceval-Maxwell as PJ Mahoney. The keeper of arcane lore is Dominic Allen. Chapter 1: Through the Looking Glass. You're all waiting in this sort of lobby, and as you sort of take each other in, before you get a chance to speak, a young woman steps out of a set of double doors at the end of the corridor that has a brass plaque that says Bryce Fallon, Dean, Head of Faculty. And she puts her head out and she says, Professor Fallon will see you now. If you'd all like to come through. And she holds the door open for you.
Stand up and let the others go first, I think. Gentlemanly way.
PJ will kind of raise himself with a little bit of effort from... he's been sitting a little bit too long in the same place.
I go up to the girl the woman who's opened the door and say, excuse me, I usually work alone. I didn't realize there'd be other investigators on this job. I don't know how comfortable I am with this.
Well, that's a matter for you to discuss with Professor Fallon, I'm afraid. I'm really just the typist.
Well, it may affect my fee, is all.
I'm sure that will be fine. Would you like a soda water?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm kind of dry.
She walks over and starts making soda drinks. And as you walk into this, it's a really nicely appointed office. It's sort of end of the building. It's got 3 windows overlooking the sort of the grass of the campus outside. The mist is kind of clinging to the building a bit, so it's a little dim, but he's got the lights on, and there's like a nice glass chandelier, a big imposing desk, mahogany sort of behemoth that he stands up as soon as you come in. Bryce Fallon he's not your typical academic administrator. There's something quite steely about him. He's hard-nosed, no nonsense. Those of you who work at the university in an academic capacity probably know that he was kind of brought in to balance the books, get things on the straight and narrow, none of this namby-pamby, academic nonsense. He's about getting the university squeaky clean and getting down to business.
Pencil pusher.
Yeah. He considers... He's got this attitude around some of the academic members of staff that his job is to herd them like cats. But he doesn't make secrets of the fact that he's ex-military either. There's a photograph of him in military uniform on his desk. And he has that kind of military handshake as he welcomes you in. He's genial, but firm. And so whoever comes in first, Dr. Steinweg, welcome. Come in, have a seat. Dr. Montrose.
Thank you.
Charmed. Thank you for coming.
Morning.
Sorry about the short notice.
Not at all.
Oh, thank you. Patrick, good to see you, old boy. Grab a seat.
Dean, thank you.
Dr. Duckworth. And you must be Mr. Sleep.
That's right. Hey, listen, Fallon, I said to your assistant there, I usually work alone. I didn't realize there'd be other operatives, investigators on this case.
I understand. But I hope you can hear me out, and then maybe you'll understand my thinking in this matter.
Well, I'll sit and listen, but only because I ain't got nothing better to do.
Of course.
One could surmise that none of us have anything better to do, in this room or outside of it.
Well, I have plenty better to do. But I'm here.
But of course you are imposing the moral judgment on a moment in time. Yeah?
I'm wanting the what now?
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
He sort of pats you on the shoulder as he sort of sits you in the seat. And then he sits on the end of his desk quite informally and says, I'm not going to mince words. Mr. Sleep, I understand that this is perhaps unorthodox in your line of work, but the university has an issue that normally would be entirely internal. However, I feel like we need a different kind of expertise in dealing with this. There has been an incident as some of you who work at the university will know, one of our history professors, Charles Leiter, passed away very suddenly only a month ago. Less than a month. Actually, a week ago, he says, looking at his notes.
I get the same time.
Well,
a week, a month. It's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
When you're head of Allen, are you serious about this business? Is it a week or a month? It makes a lot of difference.
It's a week. It's a week. You've got to understand, at Miskatonic University, members of faculty tend to die very regularly. Anyway, the matter is not his death. We understand that. The problem is what he was about when he died. Dr. Leiter had taken on a project for the university. There are some papers, the Arkham witch trial papers, which passed from the Hobhouse estate to the Cobb family. The Cobb family, keen to ensure the proper analysis and study of the papers, and presumably to guarantee their veracity, asked the university to look after them for a while, study them, make sure they were the real deal, with the promise that we would then be given the right to store them here permanently as a research resource. However, when Dr. Leiter died, it then came to light that the papers are missing. Now, at first I involved another history professor, Professor Harland Roach, and he and I went to Leiter's cottage. We've searched his office, we've searched his home, and no sign of the papers. Time is running out. The Cobb family are starting to get anxious, and I would rather not involve the police. The police have already spoken to us, and I've had to make excuses. So you understand why I'm approaching a private eye in this matter.
Yeah, that now makes a lot of sense.
Added to this is a problem that is unique to university campuses, which is politics. Unfortunately, I'm not sure Professor Roach is entirely trustworthy in this matter. I can't be sure, but I feel like his judgment was clouded by his personal feelings about Leiter. And I can't rely on that. So that's why I've asked Dr. Steinweg and Dr. Duckworth to come on board as psychological profilers, shall we say. And also I feel it's good to have people outside of the history department on this. Obviously, Dr. Steinweg is here on an exchange, which is very useful because while I don't want to involve the actual authorities, I also don't want to tarnish the reputation of Miskatonic University abroad when it comes to research fellowships and other alliances. I would hate for our reputation to become one of an academic institution that tends to lose invaluable documents. And for that same reason, I've asked you, Dr. Montrose, to join us. Not only will I hope you relay to Glasgow our desire for transparency and thoroughness, but also Dr. Montrose is the next best thing to a history professor. She is an expert senior librarian and one who I'm sure will be able to offer a keen eye when it comes to tracking down these papers and making sure they are indeed the real papers.
Well, most exciting, I must say, Professor Fannin.
Well,
wouldn't have dreamed this sort of thing would have been on the cards, but I'm fascinated. Sorry, do go on.
Well, I'm glad you're excited. He says, gripping the desk. But yes, and finally, Mr. Mahoney is
yes,
a respected member of the security team who we felt was the most suitable to be pulled away from his otherwise important duties to assist you.
I had the experience.
And importantly, he has the keys. So,
I do have the keys, yes. Although I feel that my my years on the force and the relevant cases that I have worked on in the past, along with my considerable number of years service at Arkham, in Arkham at Miskatonic, give me an unenviable insight into the mechanical workings that you, in the more academic side of things, maybe you don't get to see.
Well, you see why he's invaluable.
Yeah, I'm talking about the boiler room. I know where the boiler room is.
I think you're going to be a good man to have on board, Mahoney. Were you Boston PD?
Yeah, Boston and Arkham, yes.
Boston.
That is Arkham. Correct. Yeah.
Did you know Lewis? Did you know Lewis at Boston PD?
Lewis. Well, yeah. Captain Lewis.
Captain Lewis.
Yeah. I knew him.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
Well, he has his he's a good guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to see you're all getting on like a house on fire. Well, I have nothing further to add except time is of the essence, and I would like daily reports on your progress. Now, Mr. Sleep, these members of faculty, I'm telling you now, I will relieve you from your other duties. This is to be considered your number one priority. As for you, Mr. Sleep, feel free to invoice us at the end of the week. Whatever it costs, we need to find those papers.
Whatever it costs.
Whatever it costs.
Understood.
But invoice the bursar. Yes.
Always, yeah. I have experience of dealing with academic institutions. I know the bursar is a man to contact.
Very good. Yes, if you invoice us at the end of the week, we'll be paying you sometime in the next 6 to 8 months.
That sounds about right.
Do you have any questions?
Keep your receipts, Mr. Sleep. You got to remember to keep
Mr. Mahoney, I always keep my receipts.
Good man.
You never know when the word of a priest won't be enough. Or a private eye.
Well, my brother's a priest, so...
Yeah, I bet he is.
Dr. Steinweg takes out a small notebook, studying the two men, and starts jotting down notes. He even says under his breath, priest, yeah, very interesting.
Dean, I take it this is all to be on the QT, yeah?
Yes.
Entschuldigung, what is QT? Sometimes my English is not always perfect.
And the hush-hush, on the lowdown.
Again, it means...
We don't tell anybody.
Right, yes, on the hush-hush. That's very nice. I like it. On the low-down, to the ground, where your ears are low down when you cannot hear, I understand?
Yeah, you got to keep your ear to the ground to hear what's on the grapevine.
Doesn't that also mean that you hear what's said? But that means you're being
only if you got your wits
about. I will check with you later. Anyway, yes, forgive me, Dr.
I believe what Mr. Mahoney's saying is keep your ears open and your mouth shut.
I do not wish to speak for the good Mr. Duckworth? Mr. Duckworth? Professor Duckworth. But obviously he and I are sworn confidentiality regarding this matter, as has been asked of us. And you can count on us not to squeak.
Excellent. I do have a question about this Duckworth fella. Hey, you, Duckworth. What's this with the mask? I don't normally trust a guy whose face I can't see.
The Dean tenses visibly.
I could remove it if you'd prefer, if it would make you more comfortable, but I warn you, I am missing the greater part of my face due to a bear attack some years ago.
Well, maybe you leave it on then. Sometimes I just recently had breakfast. I don't want to see it again, so that's enough for me, but...
And do any of you have any questions about the case?
I do, if you don't mind, Fallon. So it strikes me that this Holland Roach character is... as soon as you said his name, I thought, Roach, cockroach. Can't trust the guy, right? And you searched the cottage with him. You think maybe he could have lifted something? This This is a guy who might maybe squeal if tough guy with a blackjack were to spend half an hour with him.
Mr. Sleep, I don't think it will come to that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see whether it comes to that.
I would ask you to exercise restraint. And as for Dr. Roach, I'm not accusing him of anything. I just feel that he is not appropriate for the case, given his personal rivalry with Dr. Leiter.
You got to understand, Mr. Sleep. Professor Roach and Dr. Leiter, they got history. They're in the same department. There's you know how it is with one-upmanship and seniority and pecking order and
professional rivalry is a strong motive for a lot of crimes. I understand.
I have a question. I trust, Professor, that I will be given full access to the work of Professor Leiter. Important to get a sense of precisely what he was doing and where his work was going to better inform investigations. I will do my best for you until some more qualified man perhaps turns up.
I can assure you that of the gentlemen on this investigation, you are certainly the most qualified to handle Dr. Leiter's paperwork. Like I say, I relied on Dr. Roach's expertise when we searched his office and his house. But indeed, if you go to his office, I'm sure his assistant will help you furnish you with whatever you need. Certainly, my name should carry some weight if you find any resistance in academic circles. And if it's insurmountable, then by all means let me know, and I shall lean on the individual in question.
Oh, I shall, thank you.
Dean, remind me again. I had it in my head, but it slipped my mind. What's the assistant's name again?
Emilia Court.
Oh, that's right, Emilia. Oh, yeah.
She's a postgrad, I think.
Yes. She's a sweet young thing. Yeah. She's very pretty. Red hair. Yeah, is that right?
Blonde, I think.
Blonde. Oh, yes. No, I know who I'm thinking of. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, she sounds like a real name. Maybe I should go and speak to her.
This is Professor Leiter's assistant, or...
That's correct, yes.
So, you searched his cottage, his home. Presumably he has an office here at the university, which was thoroughly searched as well. Is it worth us spending a bit of time in there? Seeing if there's any evidence that may have been missed?
We are welcome to have a look.
I hadn't seen Mr. Leiter for some time before his disappearance, his death. Were there anything noted about his activities that seemed odd? Was he acting more anxious than usual, erratically?
No, I'm afraid I can't comment. I was never that close to Dr. Leiter. I only knew him.
I don't know if I missed this, but precisely how was he killed? Or how did he die? Perhaps I'm being somewhat presumptuous, but maybe not.
The man had a heart attack. Don't you read the papers?
A heart attack? I see.
That's correct.
Yes.
It was a heart attack.
And where was he found again?
In his office. By Miss Court.
Yes, I thought so. Of course.
Poor guy.
Did you find a journal of any sorts in his effects?
I can't say that I did. I don't recall.
And your description of was it Dr. Roach? You were concerned that he may have some interests in that make him biased in some way.
Well, they are both senior lecturers in the history department.
Yeah.
Were senior lecturers in the history department. But Leiter was younger and more popular, and was further on his way to tenure.
Also, yeah.
Don't beat around the bush, Dean. Roach was after Leiter's job. He thought he should have been the head of the department and not Leiter. He was older. He had more experience. I tell you, the guy never shut up about it.
So, you to remind us again about the age of these two characters. Was, Leiter, he was a young man?
Well, he was in his 40s.
Oh, so that's a young man to have a heart attack.
Indeed.
And is there a coroner's report? Definitely was a heart attack?
The coroner is preparing a report. He has already given a verdict of a heart attack. I have requested a private autopsy to be carried out, just to be sure.
I think that's a good idea.
But yes, Dr. John Wheatcroft is in charge of the autopsy.
Dr. John Wheatcroft, he's another person we should speak to.
Yes, you'll find him down at the university morgue.
Ask him to double check there's nothing missing, like face or skin of any kind.
Well, I'm sure you're welcome to speak to him yourself.
Or the penis. Yeah. Obviously not, I'm joking. Yeah? This is a joke.
Quite.
Why did I say how was he killed? I don't know. I've been in America for 3 days, and it seems to have had the most profound effect on me already. I can't. And I'm a librarian. I'm not quite sure precisely why, but one must do one's best.
Ms. Montrose, you gotta understand. We got
Dr. Montrose,
ways.
thank you, sir.
Dr. Montrose, we got different ways of doing things to what you got there in England.
I beg your pardon?
I say we got different ways of doing things here.
Uh-huh.
So, it may take you a little bit of time to get accustomed to
Thank you for explaining that to me, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime. I got a question, Dean. Just
yes.
One thing. You say...
He's smoking by now.
I'm just shifting my chair away from Patrick.
I think I'm definitely... He's definitely... Dr. Steinweg is definitely smoking and blowing large amounts of smoke past Kirk's sleep so that the light catches it in great kind of shafts
Chiaroscuro.
of noir chiaroscuro.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I got a question. You see, so Dr. Leiter was found in his office. Do you know what he was working on at the time? Did he have his notes in front of him? Was he
That is a question for Miss Court, I believe.
I think we got a lot of questions for Miss Court.
I mean, so... okay, I see. I'm just surprised that, I take it Miss Court wasn't the only one who was in the room after she found his body. I mean...
Dr. Steinweg springs to his full 5'5". A figure in black with blade-like nose and sparkling eyes, and he says...
Don't do that. You give me a heart attack.
I'm so sorry. It is a tendency of mine. But Dr. Montrose, perhaps you would accompany me down to the office. His office. The man who is dead. And I think it is wise that we start there.
Yes, Professor Leiter. Yes, let's go and seek out his assistant, this young Ophelia. She may prove useful. Yes, very well, Doctor.
Ophelia? Who's Ophelia?
Is this just... I think this is just a dramatic expression, is it? You are invoking the name of the lover of Hamlet. You really should read a little...
Court.
Oh, I thought that was...
Amelia.
I believe that may be Amelia. I thought you were being very...
Ophelia's the redhead one. That's who I'm
hearing in this ear here.
She put her left leg, she's limped in.
My left ear is a little trick, dear.
Fallon, maybe now you're getting an impression why I choose to work alone.
I would prefer to rely on the group's expertise and restraint.
Sure, but I keep notes. I know when a woman is called Amelia or Ophelia. I know when.
Sorry, dear, my handwriting, it's... I can't read it myself at the best of times.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this case goes if we get caught up by someone's handwriting.
Notes here. Could I prevail upon you, Dean, to borrow a pencil? I seem to have... mine seems to have broken.
He snatches a pencil and hands it to you and says...
Thank you.
You can keep it.
Oh, listen, that's very kind of you. That's a good pencil.
That's generous for academia.
That's a good...
I know that much.
If anyone wants to... you're all listening to that diatribe... to retcon slightly, if anyone wants to do a psychology roll...
I was just about to ask if I could do that, actually.
You can indeed.
Yeah, because I am wondering if there's anything else you feel that we should know. The keen eye of a professional.
A so-called professional.
Yeah, no, I failed that.
Well, I was going to ask if I could take him aside while this was going on, but if it's just a question of sort of observing him,
yeah. Well, if you can always take him aside at the end of the meeting if you want to, but if you want to roll as well, you can.
Yeah, I'll roll. Hoo-wee. No, failed. Ludicrous.
The psychiatrist.
Yeah, I know.
My interior monologue quite clearly tells me that he is hiding something, but that's from your marvelous performance. So I don't know what I'm getting a bit meta talking about you. But
so you're saying that you failed?
No, I would like to study him, but I'm going to create a chaff and flare by standing here, and I'm offering my hand to Dr. Montrose, and I turn to Professor Duckworth, and I say, Professor Duckworth, is there anything that we have missed? And then I stare very intently, quite obviously, at Fallon.
Can I make a psychology roll on Steinbeck? Strange fellow that he is.
I don't think we'll know until we've read his journals and spoken to his assistant.
It's a strong start, chaps. 06.
Oh! Hello.
When Dr. Montrose asked about how he died, how Leiter died, and he said it was a heart attack, there was a momentary hesitation that suggested he is not completely convinced, and then to order a private autopsy suggests that he's definitely not convinced that it was just a heart attack.
Well, listen, I think we all know it wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a simple heart attack. I think it doesn't need a psychoanalysis to work out that it was...
Do you say that out loud?
No.
That's your hard-boiled inner monologue.
Yeah.
But Dr. Steinweg does say, no, not now. Don't talk to me now. Sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Yes.
What? Did you say what out loud?
I beg your pardon, Professor Duckworth. Have we missed anything?
I don't believe so. I don't believe there's much more information here. Perhaps with the assistant. Perhaps in his papers. That's where we'll find the clues.
I think we got a lot of leads to get started on.
Yes.
You know, we want to speak to Roach, Court, Wheatcroft, check out the office, maybe check out the home, the cottage. No offense, Dean, Fallon, but, you know, maybe you didn't see everything in the cottage. Maybe there's some more to be found. So there's a few leads to look into. I think we got enough to get started with. Now, listen, I got a question. Tell me, Mahoney, you served? You guys served?
Sleep.
Do you figure we're better as a 5, split 2 ways? How'd you want to play?
I reckon we could cover more ground if we split 2 ways, but we want to make sure we're asking the right questions. So.
Yeah, that's right. We need to ask the right questions. But, you know, I don't want to, no offense to these academics, but, you know, you've served, you know police work. Sounds like you're good at old-fashioned police work. So maybe you want to take two of these people, I'd take another one, and we maybe split our forces and start with speaking to, you know, Wheatcroft and Court, say, people we can find here at the university, and then regroup.
Yeah, that sounds like a sound approach to me. Yeah, sure.
Detective Sleep and Detective Mahoney.
I'm not a detective.
No, and actually, legally, I'm not a detective either. So
Investigators, pragmatists. Mr. Mahoney and Mr. Sleep. Is this how I should address it?
Call me PJ. Everybody calls me PJ.
You can just call me Sleep.
PJ, Sleep. Is it acceptable that I would very much...
Oh, sorry. I thought you were giving me an instruction.
Not an instruction. It's the tendency in the Germanic tongue. I sound a little bit like an imperative.
You ever do that hypnosis? I feel like I had this uncontrollable desire to follow your command.
I was cautious, actually, because I wondered if one of your eyes was actually made of glass.
Not as far as I know. No, they're both made of eye.
You remind me of a man I know back in Cologne named Falk. Peter Falk. Yeah. He has a glass eye. And sometimes you remind me of him, particularly when you do your, I want to ask a question. Anyway, but to get back to my point, I'd very much like to sit in the chair of the dead man. And this is not a metaphor. This is literal.
You You literally want to sit in his chair.
So whoever would like to come to the office, I'd very much like them to accompany me and sit in that chair.
Well, I should like to go down and take a look at his work, so.
It's very wise, yeah.
Well, how about Mahoney? Do you want to take Montrose and Steinweg down to the office and see if you can get hold of Amelia Court? And maybe Duckworth and I could go and see if we can speak to this John Wheatcroft about the autopsy.
That sounds like a plan.
If that's all right with you, Professor Duckworth.
Yes. Just be sure that you collect any journals or any recent writings of his. They'd be very interesting to look over.
And Mr. Mahoney, you know Miss Court. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. That handwriting again. Miss Court, you're acquainted with her.
I know her to see and say hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to.
Well, good. Best she sees a friendly face. I shouldn't want to upset her any further, as she was well acquainted with Professor Leiter.
Yes, she had been his secretary for a number of years, and she was very upset, very very cut up when he passed away. So I think tact and diplomacy would be the way to go with her.
I also know Miss Court quite well, but I suppose if it's a friendly face you're looking for.
Well, yes. Very droll.
Yeah, no offense, Duckworth, but
beauty is but skin deep. Dr. Duckworth, beauty is but skin deep. It's what's inside that counts.
Nonetheless, I'd prefer it if you did keep that mask on.
I agree. A friendly face would be best. An unfriendly face would be second best. No face at all would be bottom of the pile. Really,
Believe me, I keep it on for everyone else's comfort, not my own.
I believe it.
I'm sorry, Dean. I got another question, and maybe
he's already walked to the door and opened
it. Just one last thing.
Yes.
My wife loves you.
These what are these papers? These Arkham what was it? Witch trial papers?
Yes.
How will we know
the Hobhouse papers? I believe.
The Hobhouse papers. What do they look like? What exactly are we looking for here?
I'm not 100% clear on their exact appearance. I believe they're a bound loose leaf manuscript.
Loose leaf. You don't mean they're made out of leaves, do you? They're paper, yeah.
Correct. I believe it's loose papers that have been bound with a leather.
And they're real old, yeah.
Real old indeed. Yes. Dr. Leiter was an expert in colonial era history.
Oh.
So ranging up to the 1700s and as far back as the 1500s, I believe.
Well, that is very much my field of expertise. I'd be curious to see his work.
Well, yes, the Hobhouse Arkham Witch Trial papers. I believe it's a leather folio and it's a sheaf of some 60 or so unbound pages.
Could I possibly make some sort of history roll to see if I'd heard of these things, if it's a notable set of documents that's been handed down from family to family, potentially, unless its existence has only very recently come to light or whatever, but, this colonial era is very much sort of what Dr. Montrose is about. Okay.
Absolutely.
I will give you a history roll. 71. 71 is, I think, a fail. Yes, it's a fail. I'm not going to spend luck.
Yeah, with your fail, what you do discern is that it must be pretty obscure for you not to know about.
Yeah.
It's niche. It's local as well, because obviously there's the Salem witch trials. There's a lot of documentation there, but there were witch trials in Arkham, but there's not much documentation. So it would be, if they exist and they're real, they'd be worth a mint.
All right, cool.
Can I just check a note thing in terms of spelling? Also, since you've been saying that, Doug, as Montrose, is it the Hobhouse or is it Hobhouse as in a Hobhouse family?
Hobhouse family.
So it's come from the Hobhouse family to the Cobb family.
Oh, it's just one word, Hobhouse.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Right, okay.
And they lived at the Hobhouse house.
Yeah, so they lived at the Hob House.
Up at Hobhouse House Farm.
Now I don't know what's true.
Excellent.
It's glorious.
Yes, I can't recall these things. There are lots of that sort of thing around, but I'm sure when I see his work, it will become clearer. Thank you, Professor. Do your very best, I'm sure.
Like I say, if I could get daily reports from you, that would be much appreciated. The sooner the better. If you get it done quickly, there'll be bonuses for everyone.
Bonus, you say?
He looks at you like he almost forgot you were there and says, yes, bonuses for everyone. And ushers you out.
It's my grandkid's birthday coming up soon. Well, that'll certainly come in handy. A bonus, a few more dollars in the pocket will not go amiss.
I feel sorry for PJ. Good luck. And he and if you need anything, you can speak to my secretary or come and see me directly. And he shuts the door.
Remind us the name of your secretary. Oh, he shut the door in my face.
Pamela. As he does that, she emerges from around a corner. Yeah. A successful meeting.
Oh, Pam, it was just fantastic.
Pamela, please. Good.
Pam, do you think you could direct Professor Duckworth and myself to the university morgue? Is that where we might find the Wheatcroft?
Dr. Wheatcroft.
Dr. Wheatcroft, that's right.
University coroner, yes, as well as physician. Yes, I can show you from here, actually. And she walks over to the window, and she says, "If you see just over the mound there with the trees."
That's right.
And there's a sort of bowl in the earth where the mist has sort of collected, and there's a low, squat brick building with a chimney, and that's the morgue attached to the scientific laboratories.
Crematorium, right? That looks like a crematorium.
There is a crematorium as part of the building, yes. There's the morgue, the crematorium, and then at the front there are the scientific laboratories.
Let's hope we're not too late, Duckworth?
I just stare at him. Obviously, I knew where that was anyway, but I'm just going to stand there.
She smiles at Mr. Sleep, and then she turns and sort of smiles at Dr. Duckworth and steps backwards.
And I say, we haven't booked in your next session yet, Pamela.
I'm feeling a lot better, thank you.
I'm glad to hear it.
I bet he has, the quickest recovery. One session, they're cured.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Thank you, Pamela. How's that young gentleman of yours? Is he doing okay? Did he get that job he was going for?
Yes, thank you, PJ. Yes, he did.
That's good.
Yes, he's going to be a fireman.
It's a good occupation to be. The world needs firemen. There's always fires to be put out.
That's right. It's dangerous, but it pays well, and it's a good job and a good dental plan.
Well, you know what they say, Mahoney. If you ain't got the brains to join the police, you join the fire brigade.
Now, they don't say that. Sleep. Kind of winks at him. You know they don't say that.
Just my little joke.
Has he popped the question yet? Has he done it? Has he gone down on the knee?
Not yet, Mr. Mahoney. We've been focused on this job thing.
Sure. Well, that's good news. I'm very, very happy for you. He kind of takes her hand in his. I'm very happy for you, Pamela. Very happy. And for you and for your young man. And, yes.
Thank you. You should probably get on.
Oh, yes, we should go, yes.
Was that Doug sneering, or was that Dr. Montrose sneering at that action? I couldn't work out whether that was that something that we were all visibly seeing?
I think so.
Sneering? Who was sneering?
It's like sneer of disgust that I think Steinweg is very taken in that moment by Montrose. Nods. He takes out a little tin once he's outside of the office, and he dabs his finger in it.
Oh yeah.
And then he puts the tin back in, and then he does this to his gums.
Oh God.
What's in the tin?
I think you know perfectly well what's in the tin.
What's in the tin there, Doctor?
But it isn't.
Have you got a toothache?
Not toothache. No, it is. Well, it is some coca. I know technically it is. I have to have a very complicated prescription for it here in the United States. Believe me. Yeah. Would you like some?
No, thank you. I'm fine for now.
Of course, during the training of the Austro-Hungarian army, would you like to take my arm, or are you happy to walk alone?
Oh, that's very kind of you, Doctor. Yes.
Of course. Yeah, here. And he doesn't really use his silver cane to lean on it. He just he tucks the silver-headed cane over the top of his arm as well as he walks with you. Yeah, when I was training with the Austro-Hungarian army, it was, of course, considered to be the wonder drug. And he begins to reel off such nonsense, and I won't bore you all with it.
Can I check? I've assumed it's first thing in the morning, but is that...
It's like late morning, yeah.
Okay.
Like 11.
While that's been going on, I've just started walking towards the stairs because I'm a bit slow with my cane anyway, but I think I've seen enough, so I'm just waiting for sleep to follow.
Fine. And I just say, Mahoney, we meet back up in university. I guess maybe it's got a bar. We could meet up, back up.
A cafeteria right there. There's a
cafeteria for maybe a liquid lunch when we...
a glass of milk, perhaps. Yes.
Yeah, like beer milk. or milk beer.
Well, if you're looking for beer milk, I think you might want to check out the north side. Anyway, you're more likely to get some beer milk.
Meet back in the cafeteria in a few hours when we both...
Well, what say 1 o'clock? What time is it now? Is it 11 o'clock? 2 hours, yes.
That sounds good to me. I reckon I got enough till then. And I take a swig of my hip flask. I say, yeah, I got enough till about then.
Well, you want to keep your wits about you. Sleep, remember? No, got to keep sharp. Otherwise, that's you don't want anything to go past your eye.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Mahoney. Yeah, anyway.
I love this dynamic.
As he says that, you realise I've disappeared completely.
Duckworth.
To appear later.
Well, Dr. Steinweg, Dr. Miss Montrose, shall we adjourn?
Lead on, Mr. Mahoney, yes.
Yes, follow me.
So if I'm right, Mahoney, Montrose and Steinweg are going to the office, to Leiter's office, is that right? Mm-hmm. And Sleep and Duckworth are going to the morgue.
Duckworth and Sleep. Duckworth and Sleep is like a kind of Dickensian company. But
Duckworth and Sleep go to the morgue.
Sleep at the morgue.
That sounds good.
You find your way through the sort of the west wing of Miskatonic University's main building, where the sort of humanities sections are. And somewhere on the third floor, third American floor, there is a cluster of offices and lecture halls that are given over largely to the history department. And at the back of one of these corridors, there's a long row of doors that are all staff offices. And about halfway down, you come past a door, a frosted glass door that says it's got a list of names on. One of which is Professor Harland Roach. And then the door beyond that is ajar, and there is a man in blue overalls, crouched. He's sort of kneeling on a soft pad, and he's got a really tiny chisel, and a bit of sandpaper, and he's sort of doing something to the door.
Yeah.
As you get closer, you realise it's...
Mahoney just shakes his head.
He's taking Charles Leiter's name off the door.
Hey, the man is not even been put in the ground yet, and you're taking his name off the door.
I got orders from the department.
Who is it? Is it that Dr. Roach? Has he told you to do this?
Yes, Dr. Roach is moving in, and
he's moving in, is he? Has the dean approved that? Is that all the paperwork gone through for that?
I got it in triplicate. Yeah, I got it. I haven't spoken to the dean, but
terrible thing.
I'm just doing my job.
I know. You're just doing your job. I know it's. You don't mind me.
Sorry, let me get up. Are you trying to get in here?
Yeah, the dean has directed us to the office to have a look amongst Professor Leiter's things. Will not get in your way.
Do I recognise this guy who's the janitor? Custodian?
Maybe, yeah, he's on the custodial staff. I get what is it? Custodial staff? Yeah, he's on the. Is that a word?
Yeah, let's say
he's a handy man.
Dr. Montrose is listened to, Dr. Steinweg spout off, and she smiles and nods in all the right places. This happens a lot. So she patiently, happily indulges you, seemingly. Well, Doctor, shall we take a look and see what we can see?
Indeed, yes, forgive me. I fear that I may have been masking something that I did not wish to speak about here. Thank you for listening. Let us begin. Ladies first, I say, but I look at Mahoney when I say that.
After you, Dr. Montrose, yes. Say, you ain't seen the secretary around, have you? Hey, Bud.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Oh.
Emilia.
Ms. Court.
What, the young lady? Yeah, she's in the side room just there. And he points into the office.
Oh.
And you can hear, actually, someone moving around in there. Sounds like someone's, moving books and boxes.
Vielen Dank.
Chap on the door, then.
Come in.
Miss Court, it's only me, PJ Mahoney.
We met?
Oh yeah, we met. Yeah, I'm on the security staff here at the university.
She sort of gestures to your uniform and says, "Of course."
Yes. I don't mean to disturb you, my dear. But there's a lady and a gentleman that are here with me, and they would like. They've been asked by the dean to take a look into a couple of matters regarding the late professor's work and his and that sort of thing. If it's not too much trouble, just at the moment.
Oh, of course, I understand.
Yeah. Yes.
The dean has already been here.
Yes. He asked. It's not his speciality, as it were, and Dr. Montrose here is.
Pleased to meet you, dear. Yes, Althea Montrose. I studied a similar field to the late professor, and the dean perhaps thought I could cast an eye and indeed talk with yourself on the nature of his research. Inform
would be
or work a little better if that's quite all right. I don't want to catch you. I no doubt you're still upset. With his perhaps sudden death.
It was a shock. Yes.
You found the doctor, didn't you, Miss?
Yes.
As I understand it, yes.
Yes, I did.
Well, are you okay, Miss?
It was
You seem awful cut up about it.
No, it's fine. I just I haven't really had chance to think about it much, and it was it was unpleasant.
Well, how's about I make you a nice cup of coffee and we can sit down and you can tell me all about it. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds very nice.
Yeah.
I have a coffee pot and a hot plate in my
Oh well, let's do that then, and we'll leave the two doctors to their academic pursuits.
We'll just get on with having a wee look around if that's all right, dear.
Of course. Please be careful you don't. If you find anything, please do put it back where it was. I'm still packing.
Young lady, I'm a librarian. Don't you worry.
Oh, good.
In fact,
she visibly relaxes at that.
New to the faculty, an exchange from the Mitchell in Glasgow. Yes.
Oh, how wonderful. Maybe I'll get to visit.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And with pleasantries exchanged, she goes about having a look at the work, at the texts, at anything she can find, his notes.
Yeah. Well, the room is It's a modest office, not relatively nicely appointed. It's got a nice desk in one corner. There's a fireplace and a mantel. But as you walk across the room, there's a crunch underfoot, and you realise that there is a lot of broken glass by the fireplace. The mirror has shattered.
Well, look at this. A broken mirror, that's bad luck, so the superstitious types might say.
Yeah. And very interesting as well in terms of what might have been the cause of such things. Tell me, Doctor, can you see anything else that is broken around here? Is a frame?
I don't know.
Is there anything else broken, or is it just very specifically this mirror?
Are you examining the mirror, or are you just
now
having a look around the rest of the room?
Now my attention has been drawn to it by the good Dr. Montrose, I think, and also with his fascination with the world beyond the mirror. I think that's pure stuff for Steinweg. So yeah, no doubt he says, the double is a fascinating thing, is it not? Doppelganger. It's originally a folkloric tradition, of course, but most useful for the construct of the psyche and indeed the concept of the persona. I'm sure you are familiar with these ideas. I wonder what...
Jungian archetypes and all that sort of thing, yes.
That sort of thing, yes, exactly. Sort of thing that...
Passing familiarity with the work of Dr. Jung and others.
Quite possibly more than my own, but I'm about to pretend I'm an expert in it. So here we go. Also, we have the mirror, and it has been either broken or smashed, but nothing else seems to be smashed around here. Shall I have a spot hidden, perhaps?
Of course.
It's not my highest.
The other things in the room that I should probably point out, there is the fireplace. It looks like there's been a fire in there relatively recently. It looks dirty, actually. It looks like the flue needs cleaning or something, which is underneath the broken mirror. So you would have certainly seen that as you look down to see the broken glass. There's also a fairly large piece of artwork on one of the walls that is avant-garde, something Hieronymus Bosch about it. It's but it's not a Bosch. I don't know what your tastes are, but it's definitely surreal. It's a challenging piece of art.
A challenging piece. For a history professor. This is not normal, but... yeah.
No, not Shipley.
Luckily, Dr. Jonas Steinweg has no idea what that might be. I don't know about Montrose.
I don't know. Not art. Not really, no.
Glasgow's very famous for its art, is it?
It is.
Sorry, how did you get on with the spot here?
Well, I was just going to double check whether is this just for the mirror, or is it?
Yeah,
it's just for the mirror. That's the one. That's the one. He's actually been totally hooked by Montrose's spot there. So if you want to do something else,
well, she remarks on it in a fairly passing way, but seems intent not so much on that, but the work and the academic papers and things like that. So she's not so much looking for anything mysterious or hidden.
Yeah. So the focal points are really the desk. There's a filing cabinet. There's a small bookcase. There's the artwork. There's the fireplace. There's the mirror. But if Steinweg's having a look at the mirror, you can give me a spot hidden. And if Montrose is sort of going through the filing cabinet and the desk and stuff, then a spot hidden for that as well.
Oh yes.
No.
Okay. Mine is. It's nearly a hard success, and in the spirit of the game, I'm going to spend some luck and make it a hard. So I spent 1 point of luck.
So dramatic.
Always spend one.
Worth it.
Always spend one.
Well, Dr. Montrose, even though you don't succeed on your spot hidden, you do notice some things. You notice that a search through the filing cabinet reveals that there are clear areas where files should be, and they are missing. And it's not like a case of... It's otherwise pretty well-kept filing system. You suspect they must have been removed, which isn't impossible, but or possibly they've been lost or something, but it looks like there's stuff missing that should be there.
She knows filing. She knows when filing looks suspect. She knows what letters should have, like, loads and loads. Everything ends up in C for some reason. I don't know why. So,
yes,
yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's curious. I would have thought there would have been some more documentation here. Perhaps here. It's almost as though some things have been removed.
As for Dr. Steinweg, your observation is different. You notice, as you sort of examine this mirror, there's something a little odd about the nature of its breaking. It doesn't look like someone's punched it. It doesn't look like someone's thrown something at it. It has a quality of glass if you're washing glass and the water's too hot and you take it out and it cools too quickly and it cracks. There's something of that about it, because you notice that parts of the mirror have actually melted. Just in little bits, but definitely melted and then cooled. And there's still a fair bit of mirror still in the frame, and it's very tarnished. It's clearly a tarnished antique mirror. And as you stare into it, stare into yourself, perhaps, with your hard success, you see behind you, you can see Dr. Montrose going through the filing cabinet, and she turns around and says, there's some files, everything ends up in C, and then turns back, and as she turns back, there is a face just looking over her shoulder right next to her, and the face has no eyes, and you recognise it probably as Dr. Leiter.
Yeah, because I've been on campus for a little bit of time, so I have actually seen the man. And now I'm
and it's eerie, because it's one of those things where you don't want to turn around straight away. You imagine this sort of thing, you think you turn around and he's not there, but you just stare into the mirror for quite a while, and you sort of have this opportunity to study him, and he's just... And then he takes a step forwards, and maybe that's when you turn, and indeed, there is no one there. This was an Apocalypse Players production. For more information about the podcast, go to apocalypseplayers.com. Thanks for listening.